People can't sleep. They're staying up till 2 or 3 morning. They're working shifts till 7 in the morning, working all night on a third shift. There's also a third shift syndrome out there too, because you're not getting any sunlight. You need the sun to be well. She dried up for a couple of months, but now she's back in business. This is the spring that we come to. It's hopefully this era ending and gone forever. This is the most disgusting political party in the history of the United States that is coming to an end. And thank God. Welcome back to Jeff Outdoors. Tomorrow, Western Reserve homesteading extravaganza. Welcome back to Jeff Outdoors. It is Sunday morning. It is coffee time. And it's about 30 degrees out, and we've really been watching the weather for the upcoming maple season. And a lot of people, I think, are getting really antsy to get those taps in. Myself included. I keep watching the weather patterns, and it looks like we have a small blip of warmth coming up first few days in February. Right now, my plan is to tap February 8th. So we'll see. I think we have more snow and cold coming in February. When you watch the weather, you see the oscillations, the jet stream, and it's been dipping down and starting to bring moisture up this way. So again, we'll see. But hey, the Western Reserve Homestead Summit. So as a part 2. So Joel Salatin was at the conference, and we had lunch with him and talked to him. I had some questions for him, whatever. But I sat in on his session on chickens and keeping your eggs clean, things like that. So I took some notes, and I thought it would be at least somewhat cool to share that with everybody. And I can't say enough good things about Joel. I mean, just a down-to-earth, regular guy whose mind never stops, essentially. I have met Joel numerous times over the past 10 years. He was out here at Lehman's Country Store years ago and was part of a homesteading event there, and he was at the superb canning extravaganza down here in Sugar Creek, Ohio, which is not far from me. So I grew up going to Sugar Creek. They have the world's largest cuckoo clock right in town square, which I love that clock. It used to be inside of or just on the outside of, I can't remember, a restaurant here in Amish country that people used to go to. It was a German restaurant out in the middle of nowhere. But the clock was moved years ago, and then it became the centerpiece in Sugar Creek, known as the Little Switzerland of Ohio. And I go down to the Swiss Fest and see the Alphorns and have some food. Just it's kind of a fun event. So, but getting back to Joel, I took some notes from Joel, Excuse me. So clean eggs and chickens. One of his first notes, and I'm just going to kind of read my notes here, and expound on that. So, 3 things to ask yourself when it comes to chickens. When you're looking at the chicken, are you old? Are you healthy? Are you productive? And this, when he was talking about this, he was talking about, like, you have to think about your homestead as far as your time. What kind of time are you putting into things? Every movement, every investment impacts your homestead, your way of life. So these are things you would ask yourself. So as far as productivity, he had made some notes here that they had gone through multiple different chicken breeds, and the one they found to be kind of the best bird, at least for them, could be for you too, I don't know, was the Barred Rock. The Barred Rock chickens have that camouflage, so they're less likely to be seen by birds of prey, and they're productive, and they're multi-purpose. So you can use them as chicken layers, or ask yourself again the 3 questions: are you old? Are you healthy? Are you productive? Once the chickens get into that 3 and 4 year old stage of life, put them in the pot and boil them. Turn them into food. And that's one thing that Joel said that they typically do. You get around the 4 year mark on a chicken, and it's time to go. So think about the productivity, think about multi-purpose when it comes to chickens. The diet of the chicken. Chickens need a balanced diet. Hybrid birds are high octane and need lots of energy with their food. Chickens will eat anything, literally. They'll eat you if you let them. A lot of people give oyster shells to their chickens. But one thing Joel noted was to keep the oyster shells separate from the food. Don't mix it in. Here's another pretty big tip. I think many people would be probably surprised by this, but chickens in the winter, they don't lay as many eggs. And what they started doing was feeding chickens hay in the winter, a good leafy second cut hay if you can get it, and it actually increased egg production in the winter. So chickens can get in there and they can scratch, they're not bored sitting around. Keeps them active, but it increased egg production. And here's a real big thing. So what kills chickens? And Joel was saying the wet, the cold, and the breezy. So if you have wet, cold mud in your chicken house, that's no good. So that's something you want to consider. And it comes into what he noted also about how nature sanitizes. Nature sanitizes through rest, sunlight, and vibrant decomposition. If you smell manure, you're not putting enough carbon down. So like wood chips, 16 to 18 inches of bedding for the winter. As far as room for a chicken, 3 square feet per bird is kind of the best way to go. Any kind of carbon for that bedding, but Joel specifically mentioned some wood chip bedding. They were using wood shavings too, like the wood shavings kind of make the bedding a little bouncy. The birds can dig down in there and they love it, and they can get warm, and comfortable chickens will lay more eggs. So, and when he got into notating about clean eggs, if you have to touch like 10% of your eggs to get them clean, something's not right. Eggs should be clean when they come out of the chicken. Check your bedding. You don't want mud in the chicken house. Again, cold, wet breezes kill chickens. So the bedding is extremely important. And nesting boxes should be above eye level of the chicken, right? So you want them up. You don't want them on the ground. You can put them, 3-4 feet up off the ground and put a perch, nest perch there, 12 by 12 by 12 nesting box dimensions, and the front board on the nesting box should be at least 6 inches, if not maybe a little bit more. And this was one thing Joel was talking about. Chickens love light, but there's one time that they don't love light, and that's when they're laying eggs. And he was saying, chickens lay eggs in the morning. Orient your nesting boxes away from morning sunlight. And as far as collecting the eggs, thinking about eggs being clean, the number one reason for dirty eggs is not extracting the eggs before nighttime. So think about 4 o'clock as your collection time. Collect eggs about 4 o'clock, because as far as the chickens going into the nesting box, they want to go in. If you have chickens, you know that they will jump up on things. They want to roost. They're constantly digging. So you don't want to attract chickens into your nesting box. You want, he mentioned finding the gunkiest, moldiest hay for the nesting box. You don't want to attract the chickens into the box to dig around in there and eat the eggs and make, dirty up the house. You can also put as far as keeping the sun out of the nesting box, you can use like a burlap or denim veil, if that would help too. And kind of the last thing Joel went into was bootstrapping the homestead. So, this was interesting, and I think this is probably the biggest thing to kind of notate here, and that's about fencing. Rule of thumb: if you're not sure where to put your fence, keep it mobile, and if in 3 years it hasn't moved, then make it permanent. Think about it. If you just go in and start putting up fences, and those fences don't work to what you're trying to do because you didn't have the best plan maybe. Fences are not cheap. They take a lot of time to put in. And if you go out there and spend thousands of dollars on fences that end up not working in 3 years, you should have kept it mobile. So I think a lot of people go to the Premier One fencing, but that's something you can experiment with, and then again, after 3 years, if it hasn't moved, make it permanent. It's a really good tip. But kind of lastly was thinking about bootstrapping the homestead. Decentralize. So if you have a property and you have gardens around, don't keep your tool shed way back at the house. Have spread it out. Spread a toolbox out, or some kind of container or another tool shed. Multiple tool sheds instead of one. And that's just for the sake of time and efficiency if you're out doing whatever it is that you're doing. Fencing supplies. Put a fencing supplies shed at a certain every 500 feet or something on your property instead of having one way back at the house. Last but not least, think multi-purpose everything, which is something I like to think about, especially if you're planning on going into the wilderness or something like that. You're bringing in supplies, bringing supplies with you that have multiple functions, not just one. So those were some of the big main points that Joel was talking about. And again, the two that jump out for me are essentially the how nature sanitizes through rest, sunlight, and vibrant decomposition, and what kills chickens, the wet, cold breeze. That's huge. If you're going to have chickens, you have got to keep that in the back of your mind. And the thing about the fence. So if you're not sure where to put the fence, keep it mobile. And if in 3 years it hasn't moved, then make it permanent. So that's straight up from Joel Salatin himself. And it was a really good conference, and learned a lot of different things. So hopefully they do it again next year. It was a pretty good venue. It was pretty cold out, so I'm glad I dressed in all my wool clothing for the day. So I don't know. We'll see if they come back around with that event. But during the summer we have the Amish Field Day here that I go to every year, which is nice. It's essentially an Amish-centric homestead event, and it's at a different farm every year, and it just works out great. So, okay, well, that's that for the Western Reserve Homestead Summit 2025. We'll just keep her going.